All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we have successfully completed ranking and we have successfully moved to the new apartment. The acoustics in here, as I imagine, sound very different. Big empty room, at least temporarily, until we get some bookshelves in it with all the damn books on it. My wife is a bit of a bookworm. Not that I don't like books. I mean, geez, I do like books. But I have been tinkering with the Paladin gearing somewhat, trying to find some better options for us. Since Blizzard's kind of leaving us out in the cold a little bit. So I wanted to point out that some of the best possible gearing that you can put on your Paladin, like Deep Ret or otherwise, probably the best gear you can put on your Paladin in Season of Discovery. There's only two choices, and one of them happens to be currently in the game, and that is Stamina, Intellect, Melee, and Spell Critical Strike Chance with plus healing on it. Now, ideally, we'd want, or not even ideally, for some people, spell damage might seem better, but mathematically speaking, the plus healing is actually better. So if you recall in the previous video, I literally had a build like this, and then I literally stripped off all the gear to show you guys what I've been saying forever, and that is that when you're butt naked with a good two-handed weapon as a paladin, you do 80% of your damage. The only thing all this gear is getting you, even if you geared yourself like, very heavily, like, attack power oriented, critical strike chance oriented, you're only gaining like a plus 25% damage bonus from the totality of your gear. You do 80% of your damage just being butt naked with a two-handed weapon. Meaning that if you gear yourself extremely defensively and you have a decent two-handed weapon, you're actually a pretty terrifying monster, like a well-rounded monster as a paladin, especially in Season of Discovery. But in Season of Discovery, you have access to things like Rings of Entropy, which means that you can both be wearing plus healing gear and have melee critical strike chance at the same time, which means that if I had every piece of gear, which I can't right now, but if I had every piece of gear like this Lawbringer belt here, it's just like a Ring of Entropy. These Lawbringer bracers are just like a Ring of Entropy. They have melee and spell critical strike chance with plus healing, stamina, intellect, right? So these four pieces of gear are a perfect example of what I'm talking about here. If I had every piece of gear on my Paladin basically singing the same tune of stamina, intellect, melee, and spell crit, and plus healing, it's no longer a 25% DPS loss. It is a closer to like a 10% DPS loss, especially when you factor in that critical strike chance, especially on a deep ret paladin, and even in Season of Discovery, just Holy Shock, and just every paladin loves critical strike, believe it or not, but they like it for different reasons. Critical strike is a far more valuable but less consistent stat in your damage than say attack power is, for example, right? But when you're gearing durably, so for example, Holy Shock, right? Holy Shock is Holy Shock would love to have all this critical strike chance because it's going to help their healing, it's going to help their Holy Shocks, their Holy Shock reset, all that good stuff. A sizable portion of a Holy Paladin's burst. What I'm trying to describe is that when you gear defensively as a Paladin, you have a hell of a lot more time in your gameplay to roll the dice on RNG. So, for example, a Reckoning Paladin only gets to do one Wreck Bomb, and that's it before they're all out of. They're basically all in on a single Wreck Bomb, and they got nothing else if that Wreck Bomb fails. A Holy Reckoning Paladin, by contrast, can put Wreck Bomb after Wreck Bomb after Wreck Bomb into the enemy because they are just that durable, and they have the mana bar and the healing capability to survive long enough to put Wreck Bomb after Wreck Bomb after Wreck Bomb into the enemy. Which means that any kind of damage variance for that more durability-oriented Paladin is far more valuable to you because there's a lot of situations where you might not have enough damage in an average Wreck Bomb, so you're just waiting for an above-average Wreck Bomb, or when you stun them and you go all in to try to kill them with a Holy Shock Paladin, you need those critical resets. Sometimes you'll get them, sometimes you won't, but you're durable enough to survive long enough to see that happen. More importantly, in Season of Discovery, when you gear durably, you're durable enough that you're going to see another Hodge stun or two come back around again. So the Reckoning Paladins, for example, they'll have their Hodge stun on a 35-second cooldown. Every other Paladin build in Season of Discovery will have their Hodge stun on a 50-second cooldown, unfortunately. Why is this? Because if you're Holy Shock, you're using Shock Eye, so you're not going to get that deep into the prot tree. If you're a Ret Paladin, a deep Ret Paladin, you put 31 points into the Retribution tree. You've put a handful of at least 10 or so points into the Holy Tree, just so you have the ability to heal in combat, and the rest of your points are basically put into the Prot Tree, picking up 3% hit and improved a Blessing of Freedom. So you also can't really get deep enough to have a 35-second cooldown reset on your Hodge stun. Otherwise, your healing and combat capability is going to be greatly horribly autotrophed. It's not that you can't do it, but at that point you are a control Ret Paladin, so your trinkets become different. You want a Goblin Mortar trinket, for example. You want a Tidal Charm trinket, for example. You want both Goblin Mortar and Tidal Charm trinket, because the only way that you're going to heal yourself is off of Repent, Hodge stuns, and Goblin Mortar stuns, and so forth and so on. But more importantly, hopefully you get the idea what I'm trying to say here. So Critical Strike is actually a really, really valuable stat for just about every Paladin build there is in the game. And that's before you even talk about Vengeance, right? And the fact that you can gear yourself to be in Season of Discovery to be super durable and still have a very high melee critical strike chance on top of spell critical strike chance is absolutely amazing. And it makes it one of the best gearing possibilities theoretically. Okay, so the TLDR in all this is, if I was a game dev for Paladin in Season of Discovery, right, and I was looking at all the gearing options using the classic World of Warcraft system, it becomes apparent that there are 2 BiS gearing options for Paladin in Season of Discovery. The first one, of course, is the thing that Blizzard refuses to give us, which is Strength, Stamina, Intellect, with a heavy emphasis on stamina. So in other words, you gear the item as if it is a 2-set bonus. So you gear the item as if it's split, the stat itemization is split 50-50 between strength and stamina. Then you take the strength and you basically split it. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say it's heavy on the stamina, but it has like medium strength and it has like medium intellect, which is exactly what Tier 1 does. It's what the original rank gear does. Like literally, if I click this button and I click away the patch and I scroll down here to wherever the hell, oh, is it not in the game right now? So it won't put it on. Okay, yeah, Field Marshal's a plate set gear. Oh, you got to be kidding me. You got fuck off. Come here. Yeah, thank you. So the Field Marshal's helm set, right? 21 strength, 21 stamina, 20 intellect, blah 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 blah. A better gearing, you can see it's split evenly between 3 stats, but a better gearing for Season of Discovery would be if it was more like 15 strength, 15 intellect, and then like 30 stamina would be a good example. But you can see here, of course, it has critical strike chance, it has spell damage and healing, and it has MP5. If I look at Avengers, the Avengers crown, you get something similar, right? Tons of stamina, strength, intellect. It's got all the stats that you could possibly want in your Paladin. It's just an all stats geared item. But the PvP set needs to be stamina heavy, all stats geared, if that makes sense. So that would be your one theoretical ideal gearing. That's the thing that Blizzard refuses to give us currently in game. However, your second best and arguably your equally just as good gearing for Season of Discovery, different flavor, but equally good, are items like Rings of Entropy or like the Lawbringer Belt, which are literally like, stamina, intellect. They got fire resist on them. Absolutely beautiful. Plus healing with both spell and melee crit. That is your second best gearing option possible, and it's equal to, different flavor, but it's equal to the more theoretically Ret ideal gearing option. Anyways, so if you gear yourself up in things like Rings of Entropy and you pay attention to plus healing and spell critical strike chance, what you'll find is that you end up being this super tanky, incredibly, but you're still this incredibly good Paladin because your melee crit is still extraordinarily high. What is there to say about this stuff? Yeah, this build, I love it. It's basically got everything. It's 6-piece stamina intellect. None of the 6-piece stamina intellects actually have melee crit and healing, except for the one that you don't want to deal with, which is the gloves right here. If I could find a better cloak that had more like a Ring of Entropy cloak, I'd put that on. If I could find a Ring of Entropy neck piece, I would put that on. They currently don't, I can't find them, or they don't exist in the game, or good luck getting them, you know, yada, yada, yada. Maybe I've just been doing it wrong, and I got to go click patch here, and I got to scroll down, and I got to get into the 70s, because that's like Molten Core stuff. Amulet of the Sands, no, that's AQ, like what the hell? I don't know, man. Hero brand, like what the balls? Yeah, I can't find it. So if I could, I would put it on. But that's theoretically a different flavor, but equally as good of a gearing option. And that stuff actually does exist in the game. Other thing I wanted to talk about, some paladins. Some paladins are skeptical if we have enough durability going forward in Season of Discovery. Like, they want to know what the HP breakpoints are and yada, yada, yada. And I have a lot of that stuff. It's going to take me some time to sit down and do the math on it, blah, 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 blah. But if I do this really fast, let me pause the video for a second. All right, we should be safe to come back. So I made like an hour-long video the other day, but it was a bit of a ranting video, so I decided this is like the remake of the videos that I tried to make yesterday. Tools, gear planner, shaman, and troll. So we should have a bunch of shamans. So what I did was I got up off my butt, and I did what my actual job is. Let's see if I can find that still. Actually, I want to go here. I want to open up another paint. I want to open up this, and I think I'm looking for sham. Or is it like PT? Oh, that was weird. That actually pissed me off, but I figured it out. Why is it doing that? Let me try something really fast here. So I click here, I go open, and I type SH. So fuck off. All right, whatever. Lol. All right, so I still have all my data that I picked up off of the PTR server, basically. So you can see here, and I have one of these for just about every class. So I got one for shamans, I got one for mages, I got one for druids, like literally like every spellcaster. So I should be able to sit down and actually figure out, one second, let me yell at the dog. Hey, shut up. I should be able to sit down and actually figure out what the HP breakpoints are. So if you don't know how to deal with figure out an HP breakpoint, we can just do shaman really fast here, and I guess I can showcase it. But I've already figured out that shamans aren't really the thing that's going to blow you the hell up in Season of Discovery. It's probably hunters that are going to blow you up unless they change the spell power ratios or the attack power ratios in like Chimera Shot and Explosive Trap. Mages aren't even really the things that are going to blow you up all that much. The things that are really going to, it's really just hunter, but we'll look at it here really fast, so we'll show you what's going on. But you can see here we have all the spell power ratios. Really, it's just Lava Burst. The first question you have to ask in doing a HP breakpoint, like, you know, anti-burst, gearing, yada, 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 a question mark is, how much time does the enemy have to throw spells at you before it's kind of retarded for us to think that they're still throwing spells at us? Like, if we're running away in a straight line, or more accurately, if we're running at them, you know, what about their I stunned you for 6 seconds, and I threw a grenade at you? Like, what's going on there exactly? The short answer... the short answer to all that is about 6 seconds, 6-7 seconds of action time on your enemy. I took a drink of water wrong, Jesus, including like a front-loaded spell. The reason for this is most enemy spellcasters only have about 3.5 seconds of cast time without any additional thing going on. So, for example, if you're running at an elemental shaman, they can do a lava burst or a lightning bolt, which is a 2-second spell cast, and then they just have enough time to get out of chain lightning and then an earth shock before you're physically on top of them. And you can see that right here. So a chain lightning or a lava burst into a chain lightning is going to be 3.5 seconds of spell casting. Damn it. Hard casting spell time. If I multiply that by your move speed, which is about this, 8.64 yards per second, you can see that you as the Paladin in 3.5 seconds of enemy cast time are going to cover a little over 30 yards. That is the range, effectively, of a lava burst, of a lightning bolt. They have elemental reach that they take sometimes, so the lava bolts and mage frost bolts and all that stupid stuff. Even druids, I think, have some reach on their stupid spell casting, so that most enemy spell casts are about 36 yards. But that extra 6 yards is less than a second. You also have to remember that melee range is 5 yards, so very quickly you can see that without any additional stuns, like a goblin mortar or a grenade or a war stomp or something like that, but yeah, without any additional stunnage whatsoever, the enemy only has about 3.5 seconds of cast time. The reason for meaning that typically what happens is there has to be something extra in Classic WoW in order for you to die. So, for example, shamans. When a shaman is trying to burst on you, the first burst is they're trying to use a grenade to stun you for 3 seconds, and then they burst on you. And once that grenade has worn off, they try to the grenade stun is worn off, so it's been like 16 seconds after the grenade stun has ended. They try to goblin mortar stun you or tidal charm you, and then burst on you again. Bursting classes desperately need to burst off of a stun typically. That's why Hunter comes to mind, because Hunters both like to burst off of a stun, but they also don't need to burst off of a stun in Season of Discovery. Mages are the same way, right? They need a bunch of cast time, so they got to burst off the counter spell, or they have to burst off of their 6-second stun, or a grenade stun, or something like that. Basically, just about every class in the game needs those extra seconds. So, in reality, if you got grenade stunned for a second, the enemy wouldn't have 3.5 seconds of cast time to work you over and try to kill you. They would add another 3 seconds to that, and they'd have like 7.5 seconds or 7 seconds, somewhere around there, of time to work you over. That's, in my experience in PvP, that's basically 4 spell casts. So you have to survive like 4 enemy spell casts and like a grenade. And that's about it. So, for example, a shaman might throw a lightning bolt at you. Yeah, they'll throw a lightning bolt at you while you're running at them. Then they'll go for a grenade stun. They'll be running away from you while they're going for the grenade stun. Once they land the grenade stun, out will come a lava burst, chain lightning, earth shock, like, that whole combo. And you can start very quickly calculating how much damage that's going to be. So for the sake of argument, we'll just do it here, right now. Damn it. I literally inhaled some water, and now I've just been, like, coughing the entire time. Not ideal. All right, so we're going to have 1 LB, and the LB is going to do about 800 damage. If it crits, it'll do 1,600 damage, but you're going to see why we're not going to calculate it as a crit just yet. Then there will be a nade. Nade will do about 400 damage. Sometimes it crits, sometimes it doesn't, but we're not going to calculate that a crit on that one quite yet. Then there will be a lava burst. A lava B. I'm going to call it that from now on. Yeah, lab B. Cool. Or maybe I should just do LVB. Lava burst. Nah, it looks stupid. LVB, lava B, whatever. Lava. So lava burst, as we showed up here, has... My fucking mouse. What the hell? Come here. Lava Burst has a 58% spell power ratio. It has been reduced in ratio from what we're used to in Season of Discovery, and thank God for that. So a Lava Burst, and I haven't showed it yet, but part of the thing I need to do is I have to get up off my butt and actually gear a bunch of PvP'd Elemental Shamans, which is something I did yesterday, and you can actually see which one is best and how much spell power it has. This one is best, and it also has some of the highest spell power. So this has 400 spell power with over 5,000 HP, and then the HP starts dropping rapidly. This is like a full tier 1 set. It has only 4,400 HP, which is horrible, but it has the highest spell damage at 415. So you can see that it went up like 15 spell power, and let's look at it here, like almost no critical, virtually no critical strike chance, half of a critical strike chance, in exchange for losing something stupid like 800 hit points. No one's going to field that. If they do, they're moronic. And then the full tier 0.5 that we've been dealing with on the PTR server with, Briarweed and Smolderweb and a bunch of other stuff. Almost non-existent HP, 4,200 hit points. 9.4% spell crit, 350 spell damage. No one's going to go into PvP with that. So we need to assume our enemies have about 400 spell power. I'm going to assume that they have about 500 spell power, because you can never really tell if they're using a burst trinket or not, or if they've, sacrificed all their health here and there to get even more spell power. I'm just going to, also the spells can high roll or low roll. So a lightning bolt will do between 700 and, a lightning bolt might be do between 800 and 900 damage, right? Kind of a thing. And that's just because if you look at if I just type in lightning bolt here, right? I just type in lightning. Oh, forked lightning. What about bolt, you stupid fuck? Huh? What about that? What about lightning bolt? Lightning. Light. Fuck off. Really, I can't spell all of a sudden? L-I-G-H-T. Lightning. Thank you. Fuck off. No. Okay, thank you. Definitely. Space, be it. We're just doing this. Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off. Lightning bolt rate 10. Are you really trying to piss me off this much right now? Fuck you. Well, where's its fucking damage? Thank you. You can see it has some damage variance on it. In this case, it's like 50 damage on a lightning bolt. Often it's like 100 damage variance, especially when it's critting. And we just take that into consideration by giving our enemies more spell power than they otherwise would have. All right, we clear with this? Cool. Moving on. Jesus fucking Christ. Right, so Lava Burst damage at 500 spell power at a 58% ratio is going to add about 300 extra damage to it. And you can see that its base damage was, where's it at? About 900. So we're going to go 300 plus 900 damage. And it does about 1,200 damage. And we're going to let this thing crit, okay? Because we're not here to try to survive the average damage output of our enemies. We're here to try to survive when things go truly, truly terrifying, butt-puckering from our enemies. So we're not trying to survive if every spell cast they have crits, but we are trying to survive if like 75% of the crap coming out of them and hitting us is a critical strike. That's pretty much the sweet spot. So we're going to double that. You're going to see we're going to take 2,400 damage right there. We'll factor in fire resist and PvP damage reduction here in a second. And then, of course, there'll be a chain lightning. A chain lightning will do... they usually hit for... We'll do it a high roll. We'll say it crits as well at about 2,500. And then we'll also say that the Earth Shock... also crits. And when Earth Shock crits, Earth Shocks and Lightning Bolts basically do the exact same amount of damage. Crit times 2 damage, blah, 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 blah. So that's basically what we're getting hit with right there from an Elemental Shaman in a properly done Elemental Shaman burst when it's like really, really scary. So we're going to take an 800 damage Lightning Bolt. We're going to take a grenade to the face. We're going to get hit with a Lava Burst that'll crit, a Chain Lightning that'll crit, and an Earth Shock that will crit. Of course, if the Lava Burst crits, things are going to look different, blah, 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 blah. Now, that sounds scary until you start, like, doing some extra things. So we actually have to minus this Lava Burst's damage by 25%. which is going to be 600, I do believe. Yeah. The reason for that is because I've insisted you guys have soft cap fire resist, which means that worst case scenario, the lava burst is going to crit you, but you're going to take a 25% damage reduction. It'll never be lower than a 25% damage reduction. So you're only taking 800, so you have to remove 600 damage from the lava burst. It's the exact same thing with the grenade. There's something stupid like a 36% chance that you're going to, like 33% chance, a 1/3% chance that you're going to resist the grenade stun. But you might take the damage, you might not take the damage. If you resist the grenade stun, then the burst is completely nullified from the enemy, obviously. But we're assuming you're taking the grenade stun, but we got to cut that damage down by 25% due to fire resist. Okay, cool. So this is the total amount of damage that we're taking. We'll add that all up. 800 plus 300 plus 1800 plus a 25 hundo elemental chain lightning crit. Plus another 1,800 from Earth Shock. All right, wait, that's actually wrong. It should be 1,600 from Earth Shock. Like I said, they do the same damage. Yeah. So I got a minus 200. Okay, cool. So we're getting hit for 7,000 magic damage. Kamehameha! Yeah! All right, PvP damage reduction times 0.7. Cool. We took 4,900 HP damage. Yeah, and this is if the Elemental Shaman gets really, really lucky or has used one of his bursts. And keep in mind, we gave him like 25% more spell power than he would otherwise have. We're assuming that the guy is at 500 spell power when realistically he should only be at 400 spell power. And you can see that as long as we're over 5,000 HP, we're going to survive this comfortably, absolutely no problem. That's without Sacred Shield. You'll notice that this whole chain of events took us like over 6 seconds to manifest. This lightning bolt is 2 seconds. This grenade takes a little bit of time. It's about like, a 1 second or 1.5 seconds of grenade charge up time. Lava burst is 2 seconds. The chain lightning is 1.5 seconds. So in the lava burst, what is that? 4 seconds, 4.5 seconds. Yeah, we're easily over 6 seconds since we've eaten a lightning bolt. There's an extraordinarily high probability, if not a 100% guaranteed chance, that we have a double Sacred Shield proc here. Okay, and that's kind of a big deal. Let's go back over here. If I recall correctly, I know them off the top of my head, so I can just write them down here really fast. These Paladins that are heavy on the plus healing gear, their Sacred Shields are about 500 HP each. And they're running about 5,300 HP, especially if you use, it's about 350 HP. If you use the Wild Blossom Berry food buff from Fellwood, gives you an extra 100 HP to work with. Definitely go check that out. So your standing HP is more than enough to survive an Elemental Shaman burst, like by itself. But at the same time, you're gonna have a Sacred Shield that's giving you like plus 500 HP every time it's activating. Shaman doesn't have time to purge that crap off of them. That burst was only going to do like, 4,900 damage. So even if you were like AFK and your Sacred Shield was not on you, you'd survive that burst no problem. If you do have Sacred Shield on you, you're going to survive that burst without even breaking a sweat. We haven't talked about whether or not you have Kings on yet. We haven't talked about, we're assuming you're going to be using Crusader Strike. But if you're not using Crusader Strike, you've got, Righteous Fury on. There's just no time for them to do anything. Moral of the story is our enemy actually has to get through something like 6,400 HP or 6,000. I think it's closer to 6,500 HP, and that's without Kings. With Kings, this number goes even as high as like 7,000 effective hit points. Elemental Shaman's not getting anywhere near there. How do I put this? This is exactly the amount of HP I have on my Paladin when I'm PvPing in Alterac Valley. While ranking in Alterac Valley with nothing but tier 1, tier 0.5, and like 2-piece PvP gear. I'm sitting without Kings, without Sacred Shield at 4,900 HP. I can tell you right now, it's a break point. 100%, it's a break point. The only time I've ever died to like a burst it was because I was missing something on my Paladin. I didn't have Sacred Shield up, or more accurately, what happened was my enemy had like world buffs. Specifically, it's been hunters that have the potential of deleting me out of existence. So that stupid hunter fire explosive trap, when it crits, can do like 2,500 damage. Their Chimera shots can crit you for like 2k each, but I think the Chimera shots are critting for 2k specifically when the hunter still has all of his buffs on and has like world buffs on and shit, because the average damage that they've been critting for is like 1,600. So they hit for 800 on average for what I've seen in Alterac Valley. And every now and then I get hit for like a 2k Chimera shot. And my thinking is that that's just, I've never seen a hunter that's died and come back and has hit me for that much. It's always been like a freshly, potentially world buffed hunter that has bitch slapped me for 2,000 Chimera shot damage. Critical. All critical, right? All right, so this is the theoretical burst damage out of a hunter. They can do this double Chimera shot explosive trap thing in under 6 seconds. They can also get some extra damage in there. So like, they can easily get like an extra 500 damage here or there from like their basic auto attacks and whatnot. So they can if everything out of them crits, they can theoretically do like 7,000 ish damage to you. And with my 4,900 HP bar and my Sacred Shield only having like 400, I think my Sacred Shield's about 450 equals. And my fire resist, when I die, my fire resist usually isn't doing anything because it's super low right now. Because literally by the time you're watching this video, I'll be properly PvP geared. And I can actually start doing some dueling videos so we can look at the burst damage numbers. Yeah, if I'm getting, you can, as you saw there, I only had like 5,400 HP effectively. And I'm getting hit with like 7k, even with the damage reduction. Yeah, you can see I'm gone, right? I'm gone. And what's worse is that 7,000 damage is with the PvP damage reduction, which I find to be absolutely alarming. So hunters are kind of the bursting guy to watch out for. But when I'm fully PvP geared, I'll have like 5,300 HP. My Sacred Shield will be doing more closer to like 550 healing. That will definitely activate, so I have to chew through that. And then fire resist will reduce that damage by at least 25%. So it's like 25 times 0.75 equals plus like 4,000 equals. So I would still I would die to the burst if I didn't have kings on me, right? But again, these are world buffed hunters we're talking about. The non-world buffed ones seem to be doing about 1,600 damage times 2. That's when it crits. And then the stupid fire thing, if it did 2,400, but that's a world buffed fire hunter. Normally the fire stuff is only doing about 2k. When I'm pretty sure they're not buffed and they're not world buffed or anything like that, it does about 2k fire damage, not 2,500. I'm going to reduce that by 25%, which means we're losing 500. So it'll only be another 1,500 damage. Yeah, so I'm going to take 4,700 HP worth of damage, and my effective HP pool is 6,500. I'm not going to get burst out of existence. And I'm seeing this in real time when I'm in AV, because I have 4,900 hit points, and I have a decently thick Sacred Shield. And it's only these absurd numbers that are obscenely rare, which that's like, bro, you must be fully world buffed or something. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's a very, very rare event that I get blown up by a single class. Even when they're like using grenade stuns and trying to get extra damage in on me, it's just not happening. Worst case scenario, of course, you'll drop the Sacred Shield. You'll put kings on yourself. That's the first course of action. Some paladins can put kings on them. Some cannot. Worst case scenario, you'll be using a thicker You'll rather than using Crusader Strike, you'll be using Hand of Reckoning. But it's just not a problem. I've literally not been having a problem with hunters whatsoever. The other issue with fighting a hunter is that if you run into their burst, it's kind of your fault. And I'll explain why. So they're using an explosive trap, which has a travel time and an animation associated to it, right? So they'll activate the explosive trap. You'll see this arcing, fireworks looking thing in the air before it lands on the ground, like right on top of you or right in front of you. When you see that thing happening, strafe left, strafe right, a back pedal, I don't fucking care. You'll avoid the fire trap almost 100% of the time. The fire trap needs to crit. If again, everything here needs to crit. Including the fire trap, and the fire trap both needs to crit, and you need to only get the 25% fire damage reduction. If you get a 50% fire damage reduction, you're surviving that absolutely no problem. So more fire resist versus them is actually really good and even better. Tons of ways to deal with them, if that makes any sense. So for example, let's see here. The Paladin, I'm planning on doing my little Holy Reckoning Paladin here, which needs a Lava Dredger. I don't know what the hell is going on with that. Lava Dredger, you're the one. Okay, cool. Oh, I was tinkering around with that. Right, I remember now. Okay. Did I change anything else weird from this guy? Everything's back to normal, right? Yeah. This guy right here has an absolutely obscene amount of HP, mana, and fire resistance. So you can see it's like 4,400 HP effectively on this character. When I put the food buff on, I have over 5,400 HP. That's a terrifying amount of HP. If I scroll down here, you can see my fire resist without even a fire resist aura is 195. That 185 is an illusion because I haven't activated Heart of the Scale yet. Once I activate Heart of the Scale, I'll have 195 fire resist without fire resist aura on. The moment if I even click fire resist aura on this Paladin, I'm immediately going to be at I'm going to be at a 50% fire damage reduction virtually 100% of the time. It'll be a cold day in hell that I'll at 260-ish, 250-ish, 260-ish fire resistance, somewhere around there is your second soft cap. So your first soft cap is around about 140 fire resist for most PvP spells. That'll push off 0%. You'll only ever see 25% fire damage reduction or better. And then seeing 50% fire damage reduction or better starts happening around the 240 to 250 fire resist mark. And you can see that this build gets to the 250 and 240 fire resist mark without breaking a sweat. So I just don't care. I'm literally just going to run over that explosive trap and literally give little to no shits. But if you dodge the explosive trap, that's what's resetting their Chimera shot. So that's your first line of defense, is just dodge the damn thing. It's also important to note that the fire trap will come out with the first Chimera shot. So if you watch your health bar suddenly get deleted by a Chimera shot, you can literally just strafe left or strafe right all of a sudden because the next button they're going to push is going to be a trap of some kind because they have to get it on cooldown. Very, very easy to predict. Or you can just outgear the problem, which is basically what I'm going to do. Yeah, so I'm going to end the video here, and Day Assault boys. But basically, I have all the ratios. It's just a matter of me getting up off my butt and figuring out just how much spell power our enemies have, yada, yada, yada. But it seems to be that there's an HP breakpoint somewhere around about 5,000-ish HP bar, but that's only if you haven't been neglecting your fire resistance. Highly suggest that you do not neglect your fire resistance. In fact, I wouldn't take this because I have too much health power. I would take Essence of the Pure Flame instead. I'm a really big fan of Essence of Pure Flame and Heart of the Scale at this point, just because it's like a 100 fire reflect damage. So at that point, I can literally start neglecting like rogues, even though this is a Reckoning Paladin build, I mean, a rogue's not going to be able to handle like 130. Well, it is fire damage, so if the rogue hasn't been neglecting his fire resist, he'll do a lot better. But he's still, between the fire damage and the retribution aura that I'll throw up, he's going to take like 100 reflect damage every time he attacks me. Like, no rogue is surviving that. And even my weak ass my weak ass wreck bomb with a lava dredger or a one-handed sword and board and shield. Warriors become a non-factor. Kitty cat druids become a non-factor. It's just too much reflect damage. If you find yourself fighting an enemy spellcaster, you're very happy to have a Heart of the Scale. Heart of the Scale is absolutely amazing. Go get it. It's a very high drop chance after on the last boss in UBRS. Can't be dispelled. I'm absolutely in love with this trinket. It's basically BiS damn near all game, in my opinion. Yeah. So this is my dream gear. I won't quite have that by the time you're watching this video, but I'll have it close enough that we can start doing durability tests and see if anybody can actually challenge me or delete me out of existence at all. But anyways, all in the video here, and Deus Volt, boys.